for me, entrepreneurship has always been the way.
Investing is important because it's the only way you are going to be able to get rich and wealthy for your family. We can close the wealth gap by working together.
Market Monday is the biggest investment show ever.
My life has literally changed since watching EYL.
When you can make people money and you can add value, they're going to be forever indebted to you.
And I promise you this year, I'm going to make y'all even more money.
Disclaimer, do your own research. Our content is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. It's very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with, or independently research and verify any information that you find on our show and wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. Let's build our knowledge, our community, and our brokerage accounts. Love is love.
That's a fact. Love is always love.
Welcome
back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Happy Monday. The market is closed, but you know who is open. That is a big fact. Ian, what's the deal, man? How you feeling?
Happy Monday. Glorious Monday. Had an amazing Sunday. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Happy to be here. Shadi, how you feeling? Troy, how you feeling? Everybody in chat, how y'all feeling?
Yeah, I'm happy the sun's out, man. It's been a rainy weekend here in New York.
Yeah.
A lot of the East Coast cities been experiencing some rain, but you know, with rain comes a refreshing, right? We washed out the old and with the new. We happy.
Speaking of washing out, New York Knicks, let's get it done.
Tonight.
Let's get it done tonight, boy. Woo!
I know. Shout out to the city, man.
That's a fact. Yeah, we appreciate everybody tapping in with us. We know it's a lot going on. Memorial Day weekend, the Knicks playing, but Market Mondays, you know, it's a priority at all times. So shout out to everybody that's taking the time out of their schedule to tap in, get this information. Man, we got a lot to talk about. Blackout, we back on Wednesday. Shout out to everybody that checked out Blackout last week. You know, that was a highly anticipated episode, and that was something that I think really delivered. A lot of people said that was the best episode of the year. Godfrey, man, yeah, he gave a lot of information,
super intelligent,
a lot of gems. So we back, just me and Ian this week. So, you know, we gotta talk about the Drake album. We didn't get a chance to talk about Drake album. We gotta talk about the Drake album. We gotta talk about the ticks. That's super tick epidemic.
That's crazy
right now.
Seen that. Yeah, seen
super
that.
tick epidemic, the Ebola virus, it's a lot going on. Trump shooting at the White House, another shooting at the White House, Iran. Abraham Accords. You heard about that? The conference call you had with everybody?
It's Ivanka Trump, allegedly, assassination attempt. There's a lot going on.
It's a lot
There's
going
a
on.
lot going on in the world.
So we got a lot to cover. Make sure you tap in 9 o'clock on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we got a special. We going back to the live. Remember we used to do last year, we started the live series where we did the live how-to episodes, not really so much of a conversation, more so like of a how-to step-by-step blueprint virtual. And that was at 9 o'clock at night on Thursday. So we going to go back to that series. And we set it off. So this Thursday, 9 o'clock at night, live on YouTube, how to. And, you know, we talk so much about the trades and all that. So we're going to talk to my brother, Vincent Taylor, who actually owns an HVAC company. And we're going to outline the pathway to become an HVAC entrepreneur. Man, like I said, it's needed because you look at, you know, all of these hedge funds that's invested in the trades. Everybody talking about AI is taking all these jobs, but there's a shortage of trades. And the reason why we chose HVAC, opposed from we actually know him and he teaches the class in college, and he's actually an entrepreneur that we knew for a long time. He was actually my client when I was the financial advisor. When I was doing my research, I found out that HVAC is actually the pathway that you can get up and running quickest in the trades. Like plumber, electrician, it's a little bit more complicated. It takes a lot more time. HVAC is something that you can actually get up and running very quickly. And I'm sure he'll tell his story about how he got up and running very quickly. But this trade situation is something that we never covered on Earn Your Leisure ever. We never had an episode. We never had an episode about trades ever. So it makes sense. It's fitting. And I want to bring it to InvestFest also, so we'll see, you know, the reaction that everybody gets. But This Thursday, 9 o'clock. So if you're looking for another source of income, if you're looking for potentially changing your career, if you're looking for your children they need to figure life out, this is vitally important. This is a vitally important episode. And it's for women also, not just men and women. Tap in.
Please do.
And it's AI proof.
It's AI proof, and it's not just us saying it, right? Like we were talking about Dario Amodei, who was the CEO of Anthropic. He put out a list of careers of the future, and one of those that was AI and agentic proof was HVAC. So yeah, man, this is one. If you're building a home, you should know it. If you have a home, you should know it, because you're going to need it, right? Either you definitely need heat, right? And in his words, AC is a luxury, so it's important to know, man. It definitely is.
And also for the data centers, if we're going to be very honest,
the
different type of liquids that they're using to cool these data centers, I think that's going to evolve every maybe 2 or 3 years. That's going to be critically important on the commercial side. Once again, AI proof, it's a great industry to be in.
And it's coming in that time of season, right? Like the summertime when people are looking for air conditioning, when they're looking for cooling systems. This is that time. This is the high season. So if you can get in, get your license, get up and running, you be right in season, man. It's going to be one of the months.
He taught a class at UI University and killed it. So we're going to bring up to earn your leisure. And man, tap in. I can't say that enough, because like I said, there's so many people that's unemployed right now. And there's so many people that's underemployed that have college degrees and trying to figure it out. Like this is a practical skill that's needed now more than ever. And like you said, with AI data centers, with Bitcoin mining centers, so many different things like this HVAC thing, electric, plumbing, it's a viable career option. And we're not just showing it the actual trade. We're talking it from a business owner standpoint, because equity is important. So he's showing you how to actually own an HVAC company.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. We grew up in an era where vocational schools were part of your high school, right? So there's a program here in Westchester that if you wanted to go to school, but you figured out you were going to do something in vocation, whether it was being in the hair industry, hair care, whether it was in plumbing, wasn't automotive. I know a lot of people went to automotives. That kind of left school. And so now it's that empty void. Like, where do they learn? And this is going to be a good touch point, a good starting point for a lot of people.
Ian, any announcements?
Yes. Troy Rashad, they said yesterday's Stock Club call may have been the best one ever.
Amen.
Kudos to my guy Tyson, Red Panda Millionaire. He came on and told his story. We had Dan Fleischman, friend of the show, will be at InvestFest. My brother Todd came on and talked about AI, and then we closed it out with Ben Carlson of Ritholtz Wealth Management, who has a new book out called Risk and Reward. Let me get some pandas in chat. If y'all had an amazing time.
I just bought that book.
Did you? Okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Shout out to Ben. We had a great conversation. Replay will be out this weekend. That's one. Number 2, Stock Club prices will be out this Sunday as well. Kudos to the newly announced Red Panda Millionaire. Current portfolio value is at 2.1. Happened in 2 years. Started with a little bit under 300,000. Just because he did it, it does not mean that it is possible for everyone to do it. But if you want to join Stock Club, go to eatinvest.com. And for the month of June, I'll be releasing a new video in Telegram for Stock Club members every Friday at 7 p.m. to give even more value to the amazing members of Stock Club. If I made you money, please put yes in chat, and let's have an amazing show.
That's incredible, man. And Ben is one of those guys. When we talk about research, I watch a lot of his stuff, man.
Killer.
He
Yes.
is sharp. Him and Mike together are dope, but like Ben he's really spot on.
Super sharp. A wealth of common sense is his blog. It's not a paid ad, but even before we started the show, he was one of my favorite people to research and look at his blog. Kudos to him. Get his book now out on Amazon, wherever you can get books.
Yeah, it's crazy. The things we talk about that risk reward, about how we're looking at, he nails it. I haven't finished it yet, but I definitely bought it this weekend. I didn't even. I wish I would have known. I would have came. Yeah. And shout out to Caleb Johnson. I did an interview with him.
I saw you
about a month ago, man. You know what? I was so like locked in on the reason. I didn't even know he released it, but then I kept getting hit up about it. So shout out to him. I think we had like 120,000 views, man, which is incredible. So go check it out. Appreciate y'all, all the love, all the support, and love is love.
Sir.
And that was a hell of a tip of what to do to start with $50 too. I was like, ooh,
So you like what we did there.
chef it up, yo. Let's run it up. Shotty, let's run it up, yo.
Let's get it. So let's talk about the investment fact of the week. We're going to talk about a lot. We're going to talk about quantum stocks. We're going to talk about Iran war, pre-market. But let's talk about investment fact of the week.
Okay, write this one down. Now we are in a critical time. The S&P dumps from May to October every midterm election. So I need you to brace for what's about to come. In 2002, the market dropped 31%. In 2006, it dropped 4.6%. 2010, 6.3%. 2014, 4.8%. 2018, 5.15%. In 2022, it fell 18.9%. I don't think that this midterm election will be any different. I think we should be down anywhere from 6 to maybe 9%. It is also an amazing chance to be able to get into some of the best companies and best ETFs and indexes in the world and hold for the long term. I just put a stat in Telegram for Stock Club. The third founder of Apple, Ronald Wayne, sold out of his position for $800 profit. If he had held through to the day, he would be worth $456 billion. The power of a long-term hold. So even though you may be afraid of what's to happen in the midterm elections in regards to the market, the real trade, the real investment is to be able to hold for long periods of time and get multiple 1,000% return gains out of the market. Do not let them trick you out of your spot. It's going to be an amazing time to be able to buy into some of the best companies, and you'll be fine if you hold for a 5 to 10 year period.
Big fact. Yeah, I think obviously the long-term view is important, but in the intern, a lot of people who have just started trading, maybe they've been in for a year, they haven't been through cycles. And so when we talk about midterm, we just want to make sure that everybody's aware that this is a midterm year, right? This is the second year of the president. So there's a lot of things can change. And why you look at the midterms is because policy change can happen depending on who wins elections, right? And so it's important. So we're about to enter a new month. I think next Monday is June 1st, if I'm not mistaken. So here's some historical facts, right? So June is historically the worst month for all three of the major averages during midterm election years. All right, of course, that's according to Stock Traders Almanac. If you don't have the Stock Traders Almanac,
please, it's one of the best investments you'll. Yes,
yeah, it's $40. It just renews every year. So every year I have a new one. So this is right from there. So the S&P has lost about 2% on average in the past, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average and NASDAQ Composite have slid 1.9. So about each one of the indexes has slid 2% during midterm Junes. So by comparison, right? So the S&P has gained, I think, 3 times in the past 10 years in the month of June during that since 1950. So you want to just keep that in mind when we talk about having reserves and we talk about having a long-term vision that June could potentially be volatile. Now,
it'll be rough.
This is historic data, right? Does that mean that it's a guarantee that will happen? No, but you just want to understand where we have been to understand kind of how we look at this. So just be mindful of that going into June.
Yeah, June will be rough. I think August, right before we get to InvestFest, will be rough. That last week of August will be rough, and I think after that, we'll start to be okay. But these are great times to buy some of the best companies on earth. And if you are new, this may be your first storm that you're going to face. Do not sell out of your positions. I'm begging you. If you're holding long term, do not sell out of anything.
Please.
Okay. So let's talk about the biggest market mistakes.
I'm going to be very honest. We've been talking since last week about a certain indicator, Rashad. I'm seeing people rotate too quickly month to month into different ETFs. Like, this is the first time, Troy, that I've seen people ask me about investing into up to 15 or 16 different ETFs. My thing for you is, if you're new, my formula is 2 tech, 2 index. So pick 2 indexes that you love and pair it with 2 tech. You don't need 9 ETFs. So you don't need DRAM and VTI and SOXL and SMH and VHT. Pick the 4 that you're going to have in your portfolio and build a base. And the thing that I keep seeing it's a common thing in the Red Panda millionaires. They hunker down and marry their positions. Too many of you are having too many side investments that you're not putting enough shares into. Pick the 4 that are going to dominate your portfolio and hold on for a long term. But like on the institutional side, we'll have sector rotation, but I'm seeing retail traders rotate in and out of different ETFs almost every 2 to 3 weeks, and that's a recipe for disaster.
I love what you said about the base. And that's, kind of that thing, right? Like you had the Tech 2 index. My thing was like, let's just build a base. And how do we know what to do? Like we look at it as a table. Let's just build 4 strong legs. We, like you said, 9, like what are we doing? Right? Build your base and then look inside that base. And then you can find individual equities, right? So if it's SMH, what's leading SMH? If it's XLK, what's leading XLK? And maybe invest in those on an individual basis. I think what the biggest mistake that people are making, especially in this past 6 months where people are doing really well with their options trading, shout out to everybody in EYLU, shout out to everybody in Red Panda, they're forgetting that they can own shares of these companies. I think
you should first.
I think they're leaving that part out. And so why do I have conviction in companies? Because I own shares of them. I'm not just saying Nvidia. Like I own shares of Nvidia. I own shares of TSM. I own shares of Micron. I own shares of Meta and Google and AMD. I own shares of all of them. And so, I have calls on those companies, but the foundation is still, the leverage is still those long-term. The long-term holds, right? So like I'm holding those shares. I'm having options contracts in those companies. And so again, it goes back to that conviction story, but I think people are making that mistake. They're just trying to, hey, I'm doing option. I'm gonna do an option. But they forgot the foundation. What's the base? And so now when you do that, you start trying to shoot at everything, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna do this call. I'm gonna do this call. Well, what's in the foundation? Like, what's there? Because that's what you should look first.
And the foundation also from a financial standpoint, because people might not be able to afford to get all of those stocks, but you can get. That's why the ETFs are good. So you might not be able to get Micron and TSM and Nvidia and Broadcom, but you can get SMH, which has all of them in it. You might not be able to get Meta and Amazon and Google and Apple and Microsoft, but you can get QQQ, which has all of them in it. So that's another thing for somebody that's just coming into the investing. You don't have to overwhelm yourself by trying to invest in every single company. That's what the ETFs are made for. So you can get specific. The index fund is more broad range. That's everything. But if you just want like specifically those few companies, then there's usually an ETF that catered to you, so you can get all for one.
Yeah. And if there isn't an ETF, they're gonna make one, right? Like we were talking about memory for 2 years. A month ago, drama was created, right? So you can have exposure, right? Because right now it's tough. Right? If somebody's asking me, should they buy shares of SanDisk right now at $1,500 a share? That's not
it's tough for most people.
Right? Micron at $780, that's not doable for most people, but you can have an ETF like DRAM and have exposure to those, and you can have exposure to obviously the South Korean leaders in memory as well. So the sectors will sometimes appreciate, and then ETFs will be created. Right? 3 months ago, there was no ETF in memory. Now there is one, right? I would imagine that BlackRock, or they'll probably say, hey, look at the success. This is the largest ETF in the history of investing. I'm sure they're saying, hey, how do we get involved? Right? You're going to start seeing more of them.
Or you can do QQQM. And the thing that I want to also point out on the trading side, for my traders, I've been trading futures a long time. I feel like 50 years in dog years, but it's like 11 years, right? I don't know any person that traded first who amassed their wealth by solely trading first. Even Paul Tudor had a long-term fund at one point. I'll ask you guys, how many guys do you know that you've met personally and they're just clearing 15, 13, 20 a year solely from just trading? The trading is a hell of a lot easier if you have the positions working for you. And as an investor, you have to have the money working for you. It's called trading because you're still trading your time for income. That's a recipe for disaster. Have the money working for you. You can do what you want to do, but it's a lot. Your trades are a lot easier if you have shares working in the background. And if your trade doesn't go right, you can live to fight another day because the long-term portfolio is taken care of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hit the like button and share. Okay, the biggest lesson this month. I think one of the biggest lessons, which is every month, is relationships and networking. And we just posted a video today with somebody from the mastermind that said that his business grew from valued at a couple $100,000 when he went to InvestFest 3 years ago, and now it's just under $10 million, and he's on the pathway of being acquired. And he had to say, that was a direct correlation to the relationships information that he made at InvestFest. So I say that to say, like, gotta keep telling people about the relationship thing, because it's vitally important for people to understand. Like, that, it's just no way to really get around that. I haven't met, like you said, I saw somebody, they said, like, how many billionaires are day traders? Like,
It's very
somebody
few.
said, I don't know if there's any, but also how many billionaires became a billionaire by themselves? Like, study that. Like, if you could come up with one person, I'll give you $300 if you can come up with one person that became a billionaire by themselves. Anybody in the chat can come up with a billionaire that became a billionaire by themselves. I'll give you, if a multi-millionaire, 100 millionaire, 10 millionaire, anybody. Like, I haven't met anybody. You said, like, we've met a lot of people. This year at InvestFest, we have 2 billionaires, and we're working on a third. And neither one of those people became a billionaire by themselves. I've never met a billionaire that became a billionaire by themselves. It's impossible. It's always a direct correlation to at least 1 or 3 people that had a pivotal role in their trajectory. When you look at Don Peoples, it was Mayor Marion Barry in DC. When you look at Robert Smith, it was early partners that helped him move out of him being an engineer making $60,000 a year to actually managing money. He didn't get that on his own. He was actually entrusted with money to manage, and then he grew that portfolio, and then it happened over the course of time. When you look at you name it, when you look at Mark Zuckerberg, that's somebody that was actually he had the audition. Really, that's what you do when you pitch investors to give you money. And he had a slew of investors early that believed in him and invested in him when he was 20 years old.
Saka.
And then he turned that investment into a gold mine, and he is where he is now. So investment in people is vitally important, and you
And the other side,
can't skip it.
Yeah, and the other side, the other side of having great relationships is amassing a collection of enemies who are going to spend every resource and build a network to destroy you. We're seeing it with Sam Altman. Like, just not being a great person. And even if you don't want to build a great network, it's really important to not piss people off who end up becoming your enemies, and it makes their life mission to destroy you.
Yeah. I mean, that relationship thing is, we're built on that, right? Like, even after Market Mondays last week, we had an hour-and-a-half call with the relationship that we have kind of fostered that gave us insight into technology of like where we're headed, right? And so you look at that, and I feel like I'm my sharpest that I've ever been because of relationships. I think there's a great point, Shadi. The reason I'm researching, right, and the reason I go in deep into the weeds is because I want to know. But then every now and then I can call somebody that validates and can piggyback on some of the ideas and thoughts that I was having. And so that validation is like, oh, great. You know what? You're not in this space, quote unquote, right? But the way you're thinking, the framework that you have, you're spot on. Whether that's our people at Meta, whether it's our people at Nvidia, our people at some other companies that I'll rename names for now. The validation happens over and over, so it keeps you in that direction, right? Like, I find myself going, okay, I needed you to say that because that's what I was thinking. Okay, now I'm going to go further. And who benefits from it? Obviously, we benefit from it, but the audience benefits from it. Because every time I learn, I got to go teach. And so having those type of relationships are so key.
And somebody said Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, amongst other people. Somebody said Oprah Winfrey. Remember, Oprah Winfrey had a job. She had a job.
And Cisco is the one who taught her how to scale on the media side. Not to cut you off, but like, we all need people to teach you things.
And she was on a network. She got green lighted from a network and had a salary and showrunners and producers. And I love Oprah. She's actually the GOAT. But she didn't do it like we're not self-made, but we did it by ourselves, like independently. Like she had a system behind us. So no, of course not. So you can't name, you'd be wasting your time trying to name a billionaire that became a billionaire by themselves. It did not happen. Didn't happen.
Even Jim Simon's a renaissance, all the data. He was the first algorithmic investor and trader. He had 16 brilliant scientists from all over the world help him construct that algorithm.
Yeah. You can't do it all. You're not supposed to.
Yeah. Somebody said, yeah.
Sarah Brakely. You about to talk about her?
Jesse, her husband.
Exactly. Her husband's a billionaire. Her husband's an
icon, yo.
She's married to a billionaire.
Not saying that she's not amazing, because she's amazing in her own right, but the combination of those two together, what? I don't know if y'all know who Jesse Isler is. You need to go Google Powerhouse. You can't do it alone.
This is live. This is live, ladies and gentlemen. Yep. It's not recorded. So with that being said, get your tickets to InvestFest. No other place to network, man. No other place to grow your business. We got 3 billionaires coming this year. We got Ian Dunlap, headliner, Serena Williams. We got Steve Harvey. We got Julian Brown. We got Derek Falcon. We got 19 Keys. We got Van Lathan. We got, oh man, such an eclectic group of people. Sanai Bovell. This is probably the most impactful, most important year so far. We got workshops on everything from artificial intelligence to real estate to stocks. You would be very remiss to miss. So August 7th through August 9th, get your vendor booths. That's important. Get your vendor booths and get your tickets. Get your black tie VIP night tickets. We just met with the brother to go over the suits. We gonna the suits is gonna be on that level.
Same. Listen, I'll say sketch mine out. Yeah. Uploaded it in Perplexity.
Oh, you did it AI?
No, the guy did.
Oh, the guy. Oh,
yeah, sketched it out, put it in AI just to look, cut it this way, beards. I'll say, let's kill this year, y'all.
Just know. Just know. No games are being played.
Yeah.
Please.
That's a
don't play. Look, don't play yourself and try to come there with a t-shirt and a blazer. Like, please show up in the correct
show up sharp.
Please.
Yeah.
Don't play yourself.
Yeah.
And the third billionaire that we're working on is a real special billionaire. So we're working on, I think that's almost done, finalized. But
what industry?
Billionaire industry.
Investing. Isn't investing. How's that? Investing.
Audience, I tried. You know I'm gonna try.
Investing. We'll give you that.
Shy good. You've been walking around the park, brain sharper than ever. You ain't go. Got you.
And it might be. And I'll say this. The last thing I'll say about InvestFest. It might be a thing where we have 2 billionaires speak back to back. That might happen.
Yeah.
That might happen. And that might happen on Sunday. So highly advisable not to leave town early. Highly advisable.
Leave Monday evening.
Yeah, for sure.
Monday. Yeah.
Can we talk about Nvidia? I know a lot of people want to know about Nvidia. It's been not really, going to the moon. It had earnings, pulled back slightly right after earnings. That's becoming a pattern. Jensen said it's one of the wonders of the world, why Nvidia stock has not done better. So is it just priced out at this point? Or is it undervalued?
It's not priced out. And I'm not saying it's just because it's one of my darling picks. If you look like Bank of America, they have a price target on it for 350. I posted, I think it could go to 330 to 350 in 18 months. But once you are $1 trillion company, like in order for them to get to like 329 or 330, the valuation, and this is a great thing, the valuation to price ratio, which I'll be talking about at InvestFest, it needs to be at $8.5 trillion valuation to be in that 326 range, right? And also too, like they started the great wave of companies being up a bunch, and then that rotated from the institutional side. Money went into other companies, went into other sectors. So they opened up at 189.84 this year. They're at 215. If we were in any other year, we would say, "Oh, this is a great return." But because you have some companies that have went up 400 to 500 to 1,000% in a year, people are laughing at it. But this is the way a normal company is supposed to move of value. Like Nvidia has become the cornerstone of the American economy, so I think they'll be fine long term. But as far as people saying that they aren't performing as well as they should, 500% return, 400% return is not normal. What world are we in? Like, it's getting to an inflection point, Rashad, I'm with you, where I feel like they're starting to set some of us up for failure to be the liquidity, and we can talk about it with SpaceX potentially as well. 8 to 15% is great, but because everyone is trading more so than investing long term, I'm finding out everyone wants monstrous gains. But if you're looking for an amazing company to park money in, especially if you have a lot of it, Nvidia is still amazing, and it's literally the ecosystem for all things AI. I think they're underpriced.
Disclaimer: I'm an Nvidia bull, so
Perma bull.
just let me just get that out the way. Yeah, it's definitely underpriced. When we talk underpriced, now we're talking ratios and PE ratios, and I told you sometimes it can be misleading, right? If you look at where it's at compared to some of these software companies, Palantir, CrowdStrike, and Cyber. I mean, you would think that those companies would be moving. I think we've been jaded by success, and over the past 3 or 4 quarters, you can see that, right? Another blowout quarter, it kind of trades sideways, it pulls back on Friday. Okay, what now for Nvidia? What now is that it's not going anywhere. This is bigger than the GPU, CPU story.
NVIDIA bigger than TPU. Yeah,
it's bigger than all that. It's a platform, right? And so if you understand what CUDA is, and if you don't, type that into your chat GBT tonight, CUDA, CUDA. They've been running the CUDA software for about 10 years. And so imagine that you're now creating the GPUs that's running on the software that you've created. AI has been built on it. And so most companies are still using it as a platform for their software. And so NVIDIA is not going anywhere. You're talking about what's happened. Number one, their cash flow has increased. 3 years ago, we were talking about this net cash flow of having $39 billion. Well, now they're in that ballpark with Apple and Microsoft. They had $119 billion free cash flow. $119 billion. Most of that they're saying, okay, we're going to buy back stock. But you know what else they've been doing? They've been investing in companies. Any company that they see that can be of use,
value,
of value for their portfolio going forward, they've invested. We talked about it when it was Iron, CoreWeave, Nibius, you name it. You name it, across the board. The photonics companies that we spoke about, they've invested in all of them. And so they've strategically placed themselves as a pillar going forward. So 270 wouldn't surprise me by the end of the year. I had my target at 260, but what I saw from the quarter, I'm like, this is
amazing.
This is just amazing. And in fact, so obviously earnings is a catalyst event, but if you look at where Jensen is right now, he's in Taiwan. And
he's making his rounds.
Next week they're going to have their GTC. So I know we always talk about the American General Tech Conference that they have, but they're having one in Taiwan starting on June 1st. And he's there right now getting ready for a week prior to. So we'll see what announcements come from there. They talked about $200 billion coming into the next quarter or by the end of the year. He said China's going to be part of it. He sees a clear path that China's going to be part of it. It'll be interesting to see. I'm not going anywhere in Nvidia. In fact, on Friday, I was trying to figure out where's my new entry point to add more. Just because the company, how it's being run, the innovation that it has, the space that it controls, the head start. We can call it a head start, but they're leaps ahead in many areas. I'm there for the long term. If you're not, then you haven't been following with this
a mistake.
Story. Yeah, you haven't been.
Three things that they need to do to get to that next level. They have to sustain those data center margins. But the interesting part, when you look at market share, they own between 90 to 93% of all market share in that space.
Yeah.
I don't think CUDA's, like you just brought up, their software dominance is going to go anywhere. Autonomous and robotic scaling is going to be really big. And also too, even the partnership potentially with them, SpaceX, Cursor AI is one to keep your
Mhm.
eyes on. So as enterprise, the next shift is internationally into India. He's doing what he needs to do to maintain a relationship in China. As long as that global market share doesn't go anywhere, they'll be a-okay. I think people are being short-sighted about the growth and dominance of this company. And let's be very honest, if it wasn't for Nvidia, you wouldn't have had all these other companies run up 400, 500, 800%. They literally made the foundation possible, even on an institutional side, to say it's possible
Yeah.
to get 100, 300, 500% long term. I'm long Nvidia until probably
That-
2040, 2050.
You are so spot on with that. When you think about all the companies that we're talking about that had those runs, whether it was Micron, whether it was Vertiv, even Dell, which I talked about last September, right? Look at what Dell's done now, hit all-time highs, trading over 400. Look at ARM, right? Like these companies are actually appreciating faster than Nvidia, so it feels like, oh my gosh, Nvidia's kind of moving slow. No, when we talk about CapEx spend, I need everybody to understand this. When these hyperscalers are saying, look, we spent 500 billion, next year we're looking at $775 billion in CapEx spend. Where do you think they're spending the money?
Nvidia. Can I run off some stats real quick?
Because that's the part. Like, yeah, CapEx spend. Well, that CapEx spend is going somewhere. If it's not going to GPUs, then it's going to CPUs, it's going to power. All those things revolve around it. Now, most people, like you said, market share is important. So they dominated the GPU space, right? 93%. AMD was a distant second. But AMD said, hey, well, the CPU market is going to be important too. And you kind of see how Intel has played in that as well. But guess what? NVIDIA said, all right, CPUs, let's go back into that space.
Let's go back to where our home base was.
They just reported 20 billion in CPU sales. So they're watching the space, they're understanding it, and they're making sure that they take part in all aspects.
Can I break down some stats real quick? Just 5 quick ones. AI accelerator market share 80 to 90%. GPU market share 93%. Data center revenue 75.2 billion in a quarter. Quarterly revenue 81.6 billion. Data center is now 92% of total revenue. $215 billion fiscal revenue. This is one of the greatest runs financially. So everyone keeps saying, well, it's like 99. All those .com companies together was not doing the revenue that Nvidia is doing in a quarter. It's not the same thing.
No, it's not.
Gross margin 75%. GPU accelerated server share 90%. All the money is going to Nvidia, and like you said, they're either investing in or partnering with every company on earth that means anything in AI. This would be like in the 90s if Apple, Microsoft, Bank of America, and Goldman Sachs was one entity.
Yeah.
Don't sell this company.
No, this ain't 99. These are real numbers.
These are real numbers.
This is real revenue.
And without them and the ecosystem they created, if you look at the weighting of the S&P, everything's going to hyper concentration. I remember in the beginning, everyone was killing me like, well, you can't allocate 25% to 4 positions. Now, all the gains are coming out of 8 companies. Without them, we're lagging. We will be in a recession without this
trouble. Big trouble.
Don't go away from it.
8% of the S&P.
Yep.
Was it US, China, Nvidia?
Yep.
In that order, right? GDP?
Can't argue with that company.
What?
But do what you want. You can trade away. And cool. Hold for long term. Please hold for long term.
That's a fact. Hit the like button and share. We got a lot to talk about. We're still early in the show. We will be talking about quantum, and we will be talking about Trump, and we will be talking about SpaceX and IPOs. But I definitely got to give a big shout out to all of the day one earners. You know, I was in my closet, and this shirt brought back a lot of memories. Mike was talking about it off camera, but this is the original logo. You know, I made this logo on my iPhone, and once we got big, we had to change it because we got nervous that Apple might actually sue us because it's iPhone emojis. It's actually made from it's the most simplest logo that you can actually do. But sometimes in life, You don't got to complicate the vibe. You just make it as easy as possible. But if you really remember Earn Your Leisure, the tagline, it says the money plays behind sports, business, sports, and entertainment. You know, not a lot of people know the original thesis of the show. That's why it's so funny when they be like, "Yo, you guys are entertainers and you do it." Like the original thesis of this show was to cater to sports and entertainment. The backstory, it was going to be like the business backstories behind sports and entertainment. That was the original thesis. And shout out to Derek Falcon. He kind of changed the trajectory, and we went into a different realm of what Earn Your Leisure to be. But it's always funny when people say like, "Oh, you guys focus too much on entertainment. Are you doing that?" Because
that's dry.
I mean, how much value can we give you in business? But when they say that, they don't even understand that was actually the origin of the whole thesis. So
people say that when they can't do it. It's like when Red Panda, you have a cult following. Well, you don't have a cult. you can't do it. You don't bring enough value to even have a cult following. Red, can I get some pandas in chat, please? Just in chat if I made you money. So, but you've always broken down the business. And also, if you're not entertaining enough to be entertaining and equally as factual, it's a little bit of try. But blessings to you.
Yeah. I mean, but it's also like when you just get complacent when, too much value is provided, like how much value can
for sure
actually provide just this there alone. As far as EYL episodes, we done did Ian Schwartzman, he done broke down the Joe Button Patreon empire. We done had Sanav Bovell talking about futuristic AI. We done had Julian Brown break down plastic into
and the patent thing. If we're gonna be honest, shout to Lucky and Andrew. Lucky said the same thing, and it was like, wow, what a profound and preeminent statement from such a tech founder. Julian said the same thing.
Country Wayne just broke down the entire media empire of the future.
We don't
like, I got no joke. I got a text from Angie Martinez. Shout out to Angie. She said, "I'm obsessed with this episode." I was watching her do Queen Latifah. I texted her about how impressive I thought. She asked maybe one of the greatest questions I've ever heard. And I texted her, and she was like, "That's crazy you're texting me because I'm watching the Country Wayne episode, listening to everything that he's saying and trying to figure out how I do this."
I mean,
what do you want?
Even you look at Mark Barnes in DC. He done broke down the club industry and told you how to make money. He done told you to make money. Like I said, the trade thing is one of the last things that we haven't done, and we're gonna do that on Thursday. But how much value can we provide?
More.
More.
And that's the other part. Counterpunch with more. Mike Novogratz, Kathy Wood, Robert Smith, more.
That's it. That's the answer. Let's go do more.
Yep. The Country One interview was absolutely amazing, though. Just even, like I said, to me, he's a new age portfolio manager for Hollywood. And he hasn't even hit every continent yet. I'll sit everybody on my team. I don't care what y'all say. Annoy my audience with how much we put out. Even when I came to the studio today, like, damn, you here every day. All in the video, dancing. Replay out Friday. More assets. What? There's no stop loss on the media. You gonna get flags? What?
Country Wayne, he making $1 million a month with no paywall.
Listen, bro. I don't
Give
know
it
how
to
you
them.
cannot be.
Give it to them.
And if you take some of the media money and reinvest it into the media companies and have a perpetual flywheel.
More.
Shout out to everybody. Like I said, shout out to everybody that remembers this logo. I think this is actually still the logo on Apple Podcast. But remember, shout out to everybody that was part of that original wave, the first wave. The first wave of EYL, that in the dining room, the logo, the iPhone era, story time. Remember story time?
I remember story time.
Story time. And if you're real, you remember the Nas Made You Look.
Yeah, mix that.
The Made You Look intro and the Nas story time intro.
Yo, literally mix that.
So
like GarageBand, how do I blend this? All right, this is what we're doing. Like everything, man. We ain't no steps. We didn't skip any steps, and y'all ain't skip them with us. That's why I said take imperfect actions. Just do it, man. People are gonna grow with
consistent.
you. the value is what people come for. It's not going to look great at the beginning. It may not sound great at the beginning, but the value is the value is the value. And that's what you're going to come back to.
Yeah, matters more than anything.
Shout out to the day one earners, man. Had to go through memory lane. Had to go past memory lane. But let's talk about the most anticipated IPOs. It's a lot of them.
For me, sticking with the 2 tech or 4 quadrant, Anthropic, OpenAI, and the real Databricks. Of course, SpaceX is an obvious one because it's right there. I think Stripe missed this window a couple years ago. But if I'm going into this next season of tech dominance, I think Anthropic is right there to be one of the greatest enterprise companies of all time. OpenAI, second. I really like Andy Real. I like Lucky as a CEO. And then for me, fourth would be Databricks. Those are my 4 IPO horsemen that I love. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm anticipating. I mean, SpaceX is here. I think they said that this week, after the court case kind of got settled with OpenAI, I'm looking forward to see them IPO for a number of reasons. Just because of the heat that they've taken, kind of they've fallen out of favor. But the usage rate is still there. People are still using it on daily. I'm still using it daily. But more so from, and this is like kind of adjacent, but like I just believe in Microsoft. I know Microsoft's been beaten down. It's kind of got caught in this software cycle, kind of got caught in the OpenAI, how will they generate revenue cycle. And so I've been investing in Microsoft over the past month. And
nice returns, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was down there in the 370s. I'm like
368. Yeah, it's at 418.
Yeah, at these levels, you gotta make a move. I saw Bill Ackman, bought up a bunch of shares. But the IPO of OpenAI is interesting because you figure I think they lowered their amount of ownership inside OpenAI down to I think 27%. So you figure if this thing IPOs at $1 trillion, which is very possible, right? We just saw Cerebras, think they're gonna open at 110 a share and then run up to 350. Obviously, it's pulled back here, which is why we told people, hey, give it 6 months. But let's just say that OpenAI opens at $1 trillion. Now you're talking about 270 billion that Microsoft now has, and so I'll be interested to see how that moves when the announcement of the IPO for OpenAI hits. That is one, and obviously Anthropic. Been huge on Anthropic for years. I mean, the use, like every day I'm figuring out new things to do with Claude. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know we could do that. No. And so like social media is helping that because people are using it. I'm even using Gemini to help me figure out new things to do with
Gemini's getting better. Yeah.
It is it's elite, man. It's elite.
Yeah.
Like I went from the free tier when I first started, then I went up to the $9.99 or $19.99, whatever it was, and now I'm at like $199 a month.
Yeah, 200.
It's just like that was the highest tier I saw, and then I ran out of tokens while I was creating. I was actually building an.
Oh, and you gotta wait for 5. Oh my god! Come back at 11:30. What?
Yo, that's what it said. It was like you'll come back in an hour.
I need this now.
I'm like, nah. It said come back or update your subscription. I'm like, nah, take it. And every day, just locked in. At least I would probably say an hour to 2 hours of just nothing else, but trying to figure out new things to do on Claude. So I'm huge into what Anthropic is going to do when it IPOs, and I would put Databricks in there too. Databricks, again, that story. So those would be my 3 for sure.
Yeah, everything is on hold right now for SpaceX. Shout out to 2 Chainz, early investor in SpaceX. Shout out to, oh man, there's a few. I don't know if she want me to say this or not, but Angela Yee, early investor in SpaceX. She got exposure to SpaceX. I was talking to her the other day. It's a few people that got that at SpaceX exposure. There's a few people that got that SpaceX exposure that's waiting for this. But I think even with the brother Atlas, Barry Atlas, when he was saying like from another perspective of this is creating a whole new wave of wealth that's going to get deployed back into the private markets for really a select few people that had the opportunity to invest in those private companies. Like these companies are going to make more money than all of the IPOs in the last 20 years put together.
Mhm.
So now that's going to make, another tremendous wealth windfall for all of these people that actually invested in these companies. And that's going to get recycled back into the private markets as well. So it'll be interested to see how that impacts markets when there's going to be a whole new class of billionaires that's made
Mhm.
just from a few of these IPOs.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I think what makes it very interesting is that we actually know people that are in some of these rounds, which is different from any time I can think of, where you actually know a person or 2 or 3 people or 5. Like there's people that that have been in some of the early rounds of some of these companies that are going to IPO, which is really, really incredible.
But that's the tricky part too. The recycling, Rashad, like you said, of that capital back into Series A and B. A lot of conversations I'm having with people, they're like, I don't even care about the IPO part because the biggest returns have been on the private side. But I think there's an immense opportunity to onboard people maybe into some of those earlier series rounds, hypothetically.
They say Ye was able to invest and not Ian. What the F is going on, man? It's all about relationships. You can't never hate.
Yeah, everything
Never
is
hate.
yeah.
I mean, you never know. She's doing her thing. Angela Lee's doing her thing, man. Like,
Yeah, and he's a great investor. Like regardless of what you may think, or in terms of perception, she was early on a Detroit real estate wave, and like you said, it comes down to relationships. Fortunately, though, for me, I've been able to catch some other things. And you're not gonna be able to win them all. Like I've been able to get in Kraken and Gemini and a few other things, and I caught Nvidia in 2016, 2017, AMD early. So it's worked out. You're not going to catch everyone though.
Yeah, and we're learning skills that are netting some of these returns, right? So 20x, 30x, like we've seen people do that in public markets.
And that's the great part. Even though you may miss out from an ego standpoint, at least you can trade and invest your way to get the same return as a pre-IPO company. Go ahead, Rashad.
And a lot of that was happening like probably 5-6 years ago. A lot of people got in like early, like now. If that happened now, we would probably have opportunities now. If it happens now, we have opportunities.
Yeah.
Things have changed. Shout out to Janet. They said, remember Janet when she did the call-ins? We used to have a call-ins.
Unmute yourself. You've been unmuted.
On Market Mondays. Shout out to that era. Shout out to the Dame Dash bag drop intro era. It's been a few. Been a few eras.
It's been a few.
It's been a few
Smoothie
eras.
King era, leather jacket before Jensen era.
Zoom not working.
Yeah, it's been a bunch, right? The camera will rotate and zoom in and out. You know what I mean?
Y'all stayed right here with us. That's it, man. Just
Consistency
go.
is key.
Just go.
That's a fact. Let's talk about UBS raising the target on the S&P. And futures, it looks like it's at an all-time high right now from Trump's laying out a 30-day plan to end the war in Iran. And there's been dispute about that from Iran saying that they haven't agreed to fully everything. It's always kind of back and forth. And, they even, one of the reports came that they told Iran to just don't say anything publicly, like to anything that he says publicly, because anything that he says publicly is just propaganda for the American public. Don't worry about it. Like don't even worry about it. And then we'll talk about the Abraham Accords. He kind of snuck that in there. He was on a conference call with Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, and they said like he said that that's part of the agreement that everybody has to agree to the Abraham Accords. And he said when he said that, it caught everybody off guard. Nobody spoke, and he had to make a joke to get them to laugh. He was like, are you still on the line? If you don't know about the Abraham Accords, that's a whole nother conversation. But there's a lot going on right now. But he's pushing that the war is over. And that's has the stock market up at an all-time high right now. So where are we at with this target? Where are we at with the war allegedly ending? Stocks going to the moon as a result of that. Where are we at?
The war isn't over. I haven't talked to any U.S. intel, but I have got a couple war sources. That's not over. So that part is manipulation. But what I will say, due to rising inflation, global debt to GDP is 308%. The only place you can really put the market is either into a business, stocks, or tech companies pre-IPO. So there has to be capital that is deployed. My end of year target, I know UBS is, and I talked about this in Stock Club last month, but my end of year target for the ES could go as high as 85.35. There's no reason to short this market. I know everyone keeps looking for a short. Ben Carlson told us, like, on Stock Club call yesterday, everyone keeps looking to recreate Michael Burry's short, but the real trade, and I've said this before, is not the big short, is to ride the market up endlessly. I have us ending up probably at 85.35 by end of the year. If not by March of next year, we should hit that target. Hold for the long term. And we, not only that, this is the greatest class. Like, these last 10 years, these are the greatest class of tech companies we've ever seen. Like, when you pair Nvidia, AMD, Microsoft, OpenAI, Databricks, Anthropic, you can take any other. And I asked Ben, like, have you seen a class with this much quality? No. Like, one of these companies, if you ported them back into the early 1990s, they would smash IBM in 80s and 90s. So there's no benefit. And I said it before, but all the optimists and all the bears make all the money. Like, being a pessimist, you may sell books or subscriptions, but in terms of creating real wealth, you have to hold for the long term. 85.35 is my long term target for the S&P. Yes.
Yeah. I had that set last week. I said 7,900 to 8,100. I think I'm going to lead more toward that 8,100. If you're looking at the futures market, I think the first thing I looked at, obviously the market was closed today, but the first thing I looked at was where's oil, because that'll tell me how we're going to look on tomorrow morning. And so oil, I think it was down. It got down to $90 a barrel.
Yeah, it got to 89.
It's creeping up right here now. It's at 91. But you can see how the market's responding. All the large, the NASDAQ, the S&P, the Dow are all up on that anticipation, which is great news for the companies that we invest in. Because when you see prices go down, then you obviously start thinking about consumer spend. Consumer spends look pretty good, even with gas prices going up. I know the average price in I think all 50 cents is now $4. Summer months, you start to see more spend in travel. So that is always good. That means that, rates potentially, and I know the new Fed chair got sworn in Friday. Yeah. Again, historically, that usually means that there's going to be a down cycle at some point. We haven't seen that yet, but there's some hints that there might be some interest rate cuts, and there might be some like pressure to do that. So we'll see. For sure. Yeah, we're in an unprecedented time. Just think about 5 years ago, how many companies had a market cap of $1 trillion?
Yep.
We have 13 right now.
Yeah, it was Saudi and Aramco and Apple now.
Yeah, 13.
Like, even think about this, like $100 billion company isn't even taken serious anymore. Until you get to $250 billion, no one has mass interest anymore.
Yeah, we just saw Cerebus and I think that their valuation was $155 billion, and they were saying like, oh, it's a small IPO.
It's a disappointment.
Small, like in context to what SpaceX could potentially do at nearly $2 trillion. We've already talked about Anthropic and OpenAI at $1 trillion. These companies are IPOing at $1 trillion, which is going to add to it. Micron is on the cusp potentially of being the next $1 trillion company. Walmart passed it. But there's real revenue. It's an unprecedented time to not be part of this market. We talk about one of the biggest mistakes is not partaking in the market.
Yeah.
But that
midterm drawdown with the new Fed chair, I wonder what that's going to, like you said, he's going to be forced to go in a particular direction. I think that will cause a midsummer turnaround for sure. Don't panic in July and August.
I had a phone call about that. I was like, well, I'm bullish on the market. And I'm like, in midterm years, they're like, well, why do you say you're bullish and then you give us information like that? And I'm like, I want to give you the total picture. So nothing surprises you. I'm going to give you all the information that I can possibly give you so that you could have it and you can make informed, precise decisions. That's what it's about. Right? Like I can't press the button for you, but I can give you information. And so I want you to know all of that. I don't want, hey, you never told me about midterm elections and how that could potentially affect the market. Well, here it is, right? You never told me about August and September and October and how volatile that can be. Well, we're saying it.
Proceed with caution. Because Ian, you did bring up something last week where you said in modern history, there really has been only 3 years of a market downturn. That's true for sure. But there was also a flat for 10 years in early 2000s, but also
in tech,
a lot of the reason why there hasn't been a market downturn in 10 years is because it's been artificially inflated by the amount of money that's been pumped into the economy, which is not sustainable long term. So there's global economic issues at play here that are bigger than companies. They're bigger. They're a bigger program. It's a bigger program that's looking shaky. So the companies look strong, but the bigger program is on very shaky ground right now.
Is he gonna make the program hit the printer or no?
You can't. You've already exhausted that option. I don't think how long can you
since 2020. And you, to your point, you can argue without that money printer, since COVID, we would have relived that flat decade.
You think?
Hell yeah.
With the level of innovation?
It would have been worse than 2008. 100%.
I've always said
from 2020 on.
It would have been worse than the Great Recession.
25% of all capital and all cash ever printed happened between 2020 and 2021.
Yeah. Okay.
They just put money into the economy.
So
PPP
much.
loans and it's so much stuff. So that's
like,
not sustainable.
Think about this. Even in our community, even being a decamillionaire isn't celebrated like how it would have been 10 years ago.
Oh, no.
A decamillionaire 10 years ago would have been a lifetime generational crown and achievement, especially like if you're in the Midwest or now if you're a decamillionaire in East Coast or West Coast, that's damn near, it feels like $1 million and some change in a smaller city. I've never seen as many people talk about potentially getting to 40 and 50 and $60 million. And it was even posted earlier today. I think they said it's like 7 or 8 million people that have a net worth higher than $9 to $13 million. That's because of the money printer.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So but that's not sustainable.
Are you bearish or bullish?
No, you can be both. I'm just
saying
saying
what you are.
When?
You bullish or bearish on
for when?
I'm bullish on the stock market, bearish on the economy.
Okay. See?
Yes. But there's going to collide eventually. The bearish on the stock market is going to come. The bearish on the economy is going to impact the stock market eventually.
Even with that, the circular investment into AI and the data center thing we got to talk about too on Blackout and how it's affecting water supply.
The environmental impact.
Oh my God. Like it's a real concern. Even if I know people like sometimes make fun when I'm like, hey, I'm in Mexico, I'm studying the ocean, the waves of the ocean. There's more sarcasm than ever. But even sea water temperature has raised 4 degrees in the last year and a half. For those you don't know, it takes a lot of power to warm up a sea. That will have great ramifications. And with the water supply drying up literally and being tainted in the Midwest and Southeast, we're going to have an ecological crisis like something we haven't seen if we don't get this shit in order really fast.
What do you think about the circular economy idea, right? Like we saw, obviously, Oracle got hit, Microsoft got hit. That story really hasn't changed, but those stocks have kind of not rebounded all the way back to their all-time
They've
high.
stabilized.
They've stabilized, but the story really hasn't changed, right? And so it almost feels like, was it over sensationalized? definitely needed to be called out so that people are aware of it. People sold out of those stocks, but you're starting to see. We just talked about Microsoft. Even Nvidia was a part of that. I mean, they're pretty much the centerpiece of this. But it hasn't been affected the same way as it was, let's say, late October, early November, when we started to hear more talks about it, and people started to unpack this quote unquote circular economy.
Like any Ponzi, it's under sensationalized.
Alleged.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'll say, for the record, it's good going back to the relationship part. The put protection for a lot of these companies is Hefe in DC. I think one of these companies could have had a cataclysmic restructuring if it was not for the relationship there. And I don't think we've seen the last of it. I think some of the companies that have gotten beat up are not favorable with him there. And do I think they'll never let us have like the crash like we did in 2008. Yeah. But if you ask anybody in tech that a couple of these companies should not have gone under already, they're lying.
So Intel will fit in there, right? It's the reason why you save Intel, but you let Spirit Airlines go, right? Just in terms of companies you could have.
It's a selection. Yep.
And then have Nvidia invest in Intel.
Or if not, then when I go see Gigi, then your business in China is going to be restructured and all of it goes to Huawei. My grandmother used to tell me all the time in politics, enemies make strange bedfellows sometimes. Like, you're going to have to make some deals and have some concessions with some people you don't want to fucking do business with if you want to stay alive. Nvidia and that Intel situation was a prime example. It was a prime example.
That's a fact. Well, shout out to everybody that came over from the Knicks game. They're up by 25, so that's over.
Are they?
It's over. They swept. They sweep. Shout out to everybody that, has made a decision to invest in their education. We love the Knicks, support them. But man, you guys, Market Mondays, man, it's you guys versus the world. Because you are the dedicated, the dedicated few. It's like the Marines. You only need a few good men and women. And you guys are the few good men and women that's out there.
Love y'all. Appreciate y'all.
That's changing the world. You've chosen education over entertainment. And that's something in this world that's extremely difficult. And that's very rare. So kudos to you guys.
And you brought up Huawei, and I think that's a company that people should know because of the innovation and the importance of China. And right, so there was a new article that came out in the journal. I think CNBC covered it as well. Huawei is now trying to create semiconductors that will go inside of compute and will go inside of phones, which is a direct competitor to Apple.
Apple for sure. Yep.
Apple for sure, but also Nvidia in somewhat. And this is a lot of time when you have to read and actually like take contextual clues out. And so, yeah, potentially it could be a competitor, but they said they won't be online until 2031. So, I mean, take that. But innovation's happening, right? This is a long-term game. This is not like, hey, who wins the next 3 years? It's who wins the race 20, 30, 40 years out. And so the fact that they're innovating at this level right now and that they have, again, Nvidia is the leader now, but who knows what that looks like in 5 years in terms of that market, which is why I'm sure he's trying to get back into that market.
Yeah. And Huawei phones are better and tablets are better than Apple tablets and phones right now.
Their technology is sick.
Sick, bro.
Yeah. We were, what country was that? We were in, I think it was Senegal. And I mean, Huawei, they had a display at this economic forum. And the technology that they're displaying is just like, it's ridiculous.
Let's talk about quantum computing.
Okay, I'll ask a question. Do people actually believe in quantum, or do they believe in it because Trump wants to make sure that Barron and Ivanka and Don Jr. are taken care of forever? Back to you, Troy Rashad.
I think I'll try to answer that. I think people believe in it because they want to be part of the next thing. I think they don't.
Y'all gonna trade your way into poverty. I'm gonna be real.
Yeah, they've watched AI. Maybe some people said, "Oh man, I missed it. I didn't participate in it. I know you guys are talking about these things early, and I didn't do it. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next technology?" And quantum is a technology that will be here in the future for sure.
For sure. And I've talked about it endless. It's just not going to be with the majority of the ones.
Think of it like this, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
This AI revolution, this GPU story, right? We don't even have the power yet for that. So, like, this story is not even finished.
America's power grid is
archaic. We got to figure out the infrastructure. We got to figure out the power. We got to figure out the compute for this revolution.
Yeah,
that revolution will happen. That the time will come for that. And so, I would suggest that the things that work in quantum, there are some key components that you should be investing now, because those same things will be working for the AI revolution, whether it's semiconductors. I spoke about photonics 2 weeks ago. If you're not familiar with photonics, it's really how data is transferred through light, right? So think about that. Those companies will be part of that quantum story too. I know everybody looked at the quantum stocks and they went crazy the other day after the announcement. I would say 5 years to 15 years ahead of time for the quantum story.
Yep. And Google's going to be the preeminent player there.
So what's the quantum in space stocks?
Space, the same thing. I did a whole presentation about data centers in space, and over the past 3 months, you hear more and more about it. Why? Mm-hmm. The number one thing that we just talked about that we don't have now to make sure that this AI revolution is as profound as it can be is energy. Mm-hmm. Well, where is the largest source of energy? Out in space, right? Because the sun provides infinite energy. Now, there's obviously complications getting it there, making sure that the compute works, having humans that are out there trying to make sure that it works. Mm-hmm. There's all types of complications. But if you listen to Jensen, if you listen to Elon, if you listen Jeff Bezos last week when he gave his hour-long interview, if you listen to Sam Altman, it's very clear that space is going to be the way that they're going to power the future. But again, this is one of those, how far are we away from that? Are we 10 years?
Probably 10 to 12 away.
I think Sam said they're 10 years. Elon's like, with 3 to 5. He's saying with 3 to 5. Now, obviously he has SpaceX, so that intensifies things because he has ample means to get to outer space. Bezos is right there with him, with Blue Origin, trying to figure out how they do it, how they turn those satellites into something that can be meaningful for AI powering here back down on Earth. That's crazy. But I mean, we've seen it. We saw all those companies, whether it was Rocket, like we've seen those
Rocket
companies run. I'd be interested to see what happens to those companies when SpaceX IPOs, because now those really are competitors, right? That's how we have to look at it.
And it's a super capital intensive business. Like if you look at SpaceX, the thing that makes the engine really run is the power of Starlink. They have 9,600 to 9,700 satellites in orbit, 10 million active customers. They don't have the leverage that Elon has in terms of like SpaceX paired with Starlink, compared with robotics and Tesla, XAI. Once again, keep your eyes on Cursor AI and a partnership that they may do with SpaceX. But when it comes to orbital compute, they already have the edge because they have the infrastructure there already. I think the sector is going to grow, but if you're not able to get the kind of funding that you need, it's really going to be hard to catch up to them. I've always said I think Starlink on its own can be an amazing publicly traded company, and I think it's the best company out of all the companies in the portfolio. So, but we've seen this battle before with Virgin Galactic. Just be patient. It's going to take 10 years for this to play out, for the below firmament orbital compute to play out.
Yeah, and you said Google before in terms of quantum. Google, again, we talked about that in January about Project Suncatcher, where Sundar was trying to figure out how to turn data centers into space to something that's reality. Well, 2015, they invested in SpaceX. They own 7% of SpaceX. So
Yeah.
imagine what that IPO again now, as we talked about Microsoft and OpenAI, think about Google and SpaceX, that relationship in terms
Yeah,
of
that
IPO.
VC firm is killing it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So should people be invested into quantum and space stocks?
Yes, but I wouldn't say the ones that everyone's talking about.
Well, which ones
and
would you
then,
say?
Google, SpaceX after their okay, even with SpaceX, right? If you got it in pre-IPO, it's amazing because of the return. But if you actually looked at the prospectus of SpaceX, which I did, couple of things to make the company run. Transportation of humans from here to pre-firmament orbit, right? But they're basing a lot of the revenue on the lunar economy that he plans on building out of space. I'm not a genius, but I think it's going to take longer than 10 years to build enough infrastructure on Mars or the moon to make a lunar economy to then report back to Earth what the earnings are. It's going to take time. We don't have enough, like you said, power for 9 quantum computers at scale, let alone the water or environmental supply that we need for data centers or surveillance centers, right? So it's going to take some time. And also too, like, and similar to Tom Lee, Elon has some lofty projections that don't always tend to pan out on time. So it's going to take a lot longer than people expect. But I do think SpaceX has some value, but you have to see what the return basis is going to be. Same with the circle investment. It's almost $9 trillion invested. No one can tell you how you're going to get a 3x return on it yet. It's we have to spend because our competition does.
I mean, it's limited to how many companies can even participate in that exploration.
Yeah.
It almost feels like if a hyperscaler is not backing it or has ownership in it, what are the chances that that's going to be able to be successful? Like you said, if you look at SpaceX's S1, right, like how Starlink it's the revenue generator, right? Like SpaceX is costing a lot of money. How do you generate revenue from it? Haven't figured it out yet. So Starlink is so important, and it is, and it's a magical tool. Pause.
ServiceNow entry point.
Troy, Rashad,
Yo, yes.
lovely guest of Market Mondays, right?
Yeah.
I got this question a few times, so I wanted to at least address it. In my heart of hearts, I want to give you a price. I'm going to be very honest. I don't even think it's worth investing in, right? I think there's just better companies to invest in for a longer period of time. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have any value. I get it. But as of right now, for all the ServiceNow hype that there is for a long-term investment, you can trade it if you want to. I wouldn't. But for a long-term investment, I wouldn't touch it.
Interesting you say that, because I did a long-term call on this. And because, again, it's part of the AI story. And if we talk about that 5-layer, I always go back to like Jensen's 5-layer. So I keep the picture in my notes. So it's energy, chips, which is the compute infrastructure, models, and application. So we've energy, obviously, we've seen that. We talked about Caterpillar. We talked about GEV. Some of y'all did Bloom. With chips, well covered. Infrastructure, we've covered in terms of data centers. The models are about to IPO, right? So you got the OpenAIs, you got the ChatGPTs, you got Gemini, you got XAI. The models are here. The next layer, that top layer, will be the applications, which are going to take software. And we said this last week, or I said this last week on here on Market Mondays, but ServiceNow will be the enterprise software for those applications. Like, not me, that's Jensen speaking.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at it in terms of like its technicals, right? If you look at it, it's a couple of check marks. Is it under its 72? For sure. Is it under its 100? Yep. Is it under its 200? Yep.
Under its 200 and 400.
It's under its 400. So to me, I'm looking at that like, understand the story, understand the layers. Here comes applications. Who's going to run the software? Here's opportunity. It's hit all those metrics. We buy in the money here, right? And we buy long term, and we watch it scale. So, like,
can I be honest?
Now, I'll just say this. I'm just going to represent. I don't have shares of it. and I probably won't have shares of it, but the opportunity that presented itself here at these levels makes sense for a long-term lead for me. So I just wanted to preface that.
Yeah, I want to address the brother who said, well, you was down on Intel, now it's up 234%. I'm going to be honest, no one with real money put money into ServiceNow or Intel. I hear a lot of these percentages. I don't hear nobody being like, I ran up 500,000 because you didn't believe in it. You ran up no millions on these. You ran up no millions on these, except Trump.
So here's the thing.
I'll be real. It's a good trade, but Market Mondays is for long term. And I'm gonna be honest, it's too many people trading. And we went through this battle 4 years ago, and everyone who was trading that cycle, they're still in the dormitory. Come on, man. You're going to trade your way into poverty. There's 64 y'all in one house sharing cheesy bread together because you wanted to trade your way to freedom. Ain't no fucking freedom there. But okay, I'm the bad guy. Okay, I'm glad Intel went up because Trump pumped it. Cool. You're not free from it though.
Now, and I called Shad. I don't remember what day it was last week, and I was like, "Look,
leather jacket smoothie era." Go ahead.
I said, "Yes, Intel people made money on it. I'm happy for everybody that did, but I understand the story a little bit better now. Went deeper into the research and understand it." Initially, and I said I wouldn't touch it, is because I was looking at it from the GPU standpoint, and I'm looking at how far they are behind and how far they would have to go to catch up, the amount of capital it would take to catch up, the amount of infrastructure it would take to catch up. And that is true. And so when the government steps in, okay, well, we're not going to let them fail. But it wasn't because of GPUs. And then Nvidia partners with it, and it wasn't because of GPUs. Intel, and this is part of like that story of manufacturing and packaging, because these things are important. We talked about it in the last class. But Intel does both. And why is that important? Here's why. When we think about the number one manufacturer of semiconductors in the world, by far, by a landslide, is TSM. Who's its number one customer? By far, it's not even close, it's Nvidia.
Yeah. But
if you're a competitor of Nvidia and you're manufacturing with TSM as well, how do you start to feel when they give it preferential treatment? Right? So the Googles of the world, the Amazons of the world, the XAIs of the world, the Metas of the world, they may try to find other manufacturing partners. That hasn't happened yet, but potentially it could. And so if Nvidia looks at it like that, and they say, okay, well, can you meet the demand, TSM, when everybody's coming to you? Right? And part of it, the slowdown this quarter for TSM has been just that. They haven't been able to meet the demand like they once did. So they're actually offshoring, not even offshoring, they're spreading the love, I would say, to other companies that they've invested in as well. And so why does Intel play a perfect role for Nvidia? Because of the fact that they are a semiconductor company that actually manufactures and packages. And so now if I have an over demand with TSM, I have this company that not only the government invested in, and now we've invested in, to say, here is an opportunity for you to take part in the manufacturing and packaging, which is a brilliant move for NVIDIA, and which is why we saw Intel have the run that it's on. So initially I'm thinking, can they go from a 10 nanometer chip down to 2 where TSM is at? No, but they may not have to. And that's the part. That's the part, admittedly, just me speaking for me, that's the part I've missed. And maybe it's because I'm just being stubborn about it, but I'm like, let me just see what's really going on. And so I unpacked it. I'm like, got it. So shout out to everybody that invested in it and made money. Congratulations.
All right, real quick. And we can't.
Real quick, because this is important. But check your text message. I think you guys send the link. But also, I want to say this because, okay. So if it was advised, okay, don't stay away from Intel. Once again, you got to keep things in perspective, right? So I was always told you try to get one. Like if you go into a club, you get one girl, right? Like you get one girl's number. Like when you was a teenager, you get one. So okay, but I'm going somewhere with this. So it's like, all right, even if you said, okay, don't stay away from Intel.
I gave you Nvidia.
But that was the deciding factor in your portfolio when We talked about Micron, Sandex, Nvidia, AMD. I mean, the list goes on. So
I gave you Nvidia before we started
but
Market Mondays.
but even bigger than that, like I said, there's been at least probably 30 companies. So shit happens. I mean, if one company was going to be the determining factor in your portfolio construction, well, you wasn't going to invest in the company anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You wasn't going to make money anyway. Let's be honest. You're like, oh shit, I wish you would have said that. So you bypassed everything else. You bypassed Micron. You bypass SanDisk, you bypass Nvidia, you bypass TSM, you bypass every single company, and then it's like, oh shit, I wish you would have said that one, because that was going to be the determining factor of the company that I would have invested in. You wasn't going to invest in it. You wasn't going to invest in the company anyway, because you already missed 15 opportunities to get 1,000% on the trade anyway.
And on top of that, I know some of y'all want me to be wrong, so then you can build your career. I want to tell you, when I came in doing the show, I was already free.
Yeah,
it won't work.
That's important. And what
it
you
won't
said
work.
That's facts too, right? We can say these things till we're blue in the face. Are you going to execute is number one. I just wanted to give people context to what they're seeing. I want them to understand what they're seeing in a sense, right? So like you could just see it. Hey, it's shooting up. I just want to be in that stock. And maybe they said don't invest. But understand why it's doing that, right?
It was a forced arranged marriage between Trump and Nvidia. And also, I don't want a bunch of American brands to die. But if that one died, it would lead to the unraveling of the Ponzi of the circular investment.
The key, well,
allegedly.
The key word here is onshore. How do we bring everything back onshore, right? How do we bring manufacturing back? Because if you understand manufacturing from Taiwan Semiconductor, even with the fabs that they are building in Arizona, this is key. You got to understand this piece. When they fabricate those wafers, they still send them back to Taiwan.
Yeah,
they still are made here, but are sent to Taiwan for packaging. So how do we expedite that in a fashion that makes sense, right? Because that takes money, that takes time. The supply chain gets delayed if we got to send it back for them to ship it here. So the key is to onshore everything here. And that's the goal.
While corporate espionage is happening internationally at one of the highest levels we've ever seen, we got to bring some of it onshore, because they were offshoring all of our IP. That matters a lot. If you read,
it's real.
You would know that.
Go look it up. 1970, manufacturing leaves, especially in this space.
They got the honeypots running around crazy in Silicon Valley, coming up off secrets to all your favorite companies in China, allegedly. Even on the media space. Bad cop, good cop. Back to you, Sean Shot. Greatest show on earth, yo.
That's a fact.
Let's bring our guest up.
That's a fact.
Let's bring our guest up, shall we? What's up, my brother? How you doing?
My guys, what's up? What's up?
What's up with you,
Justin?
man?
How you doing, man?
Man, it's been a minute. Ian, what's good, man? What's up, fellas? How y'all feeling?
How you feeling?
Feeling great, man. Blessed to be here. How you feeling?
Man, blessed, man. Glad to be with y'all, fellas, man. Watching y'all for years, man. Excited to be here, man. With y'all rocking out.
For sure. So Justin Burns, founder of Maestro.
Maestro, yep. Maestro and Ask Bill with AI, yep.
Yeah. So I know your thing is how to build apps with AI, right?
Yes, sir. Greatest time in history, man, to be alive, man. One of the greatest opportunities, man. I love it.
Let's get right into it. For the person that's listening, we tried to build the app years ago before AI was a real thing, and it cost $30,000 and it didn't work, and it didn't work out at all. Build apps with AI. What does that mean for the average person? Like how real is that? How quick is that? How much knowledge? How much money do you have to spend? Like, break that down.
Yeah, man. So the tech industry is a $4 trillion industry, right? And so before, like you said, I mean, we used to have to spend hundreds of dollars an hour, raise capital, even though the, average black founder only, black founders are funded at 0.4%, right, of all the venture capital. So most of us didn't really have any capital. So when I started my company, Maestro, which is a membership platform, I had to get it out the mud. I had to go in, I had to dig around, find money. Most people turned me down. So a lot of people who have ideas, number one, they can't even get those ideas funded, right? But now the greatness is upon us because AI has allowed for us, agentic AI more specifically, as it gets more smarter. And you talked about this in the show not too long ago, right? We're kind of hitting a curve, a turning point, right? Where AI is getting more smarter and now it can write code. And now it's even going to be even better to be able to code up things, right? And so for us, you have tools like Claude Code, Lovable, Replit, Bolt. These tools are getting smarter, and now it's easier than ever just to launch a tool. Now you still have to do other things, right? Like validate your idea, but we got people even in our community of 50,000 people, 14-year-old girls who are launching affirmation apps, healthcare apps. Man, opportunity is humongous, and I'm excited about it.
How do we get here, Just? Right? Like, obviously, we did the background and story, but there are people who are not familiar with you. How did you get from obviously where you're at now, right? From a freelancer to now teaching people in the most important time in this AI revolution. How did you get to creating my show and helping so many people?
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur for about 15 years, did everything you could think of, affiliate marketing, trying to make money at everything, And then in about 2016, a friend of mine took me to a conference, a tech conference. And I was like, man, looking around, a lot of people didn't look like me. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to get in the industry. I had no coding background, no nothing. So I instantly wanted to build something that creators could use. So I started, bootstrapping this company, Maestro. We made a little bit of money, but for the most part, for about 3 years, we failed a lot. I spent a lot of money on developers who took my cash. I mean, $50,000 in, you know what I'm saying? Rob, with nothing to show for it. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? So a lot of people are afraid to take that risk. So I just kept going, man. Like I tell people, you don't fail if you don't give up, right? So what I started doing was I started really focusing on selling and marketing and really making sure, kind of revamping the product. And, fast forward years later, we got 3,000 customers now, even though I did spend $1 million developing the platform, which is crazy, right? I tell people you can find the money if you want to find the money. That's no venture capital raise. That's just spending it, investing it back into the business. So, we have a team of developers. But about 2 years ago when I was traveling, I started kind of playing around with AI. You know what I'm saying? Claude Code just came out. Y'all know about Claude Code. Claude Code just came out. And I was like, man, let me see if I can develop something. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of started tinkering around with it. And I built this book writing software with AI, which is crazy. We put 300 customers on it, and it cost me less than $1,000 to build it. And that's when I had like this light bulb moment that went off. And I was like, man, if I can get this into the hands of my people, if I can show them that there's another way to get into the $4 trillion industry, it'd be crazy. So we just started. I taught it overseas. I taught it in Nairobi, Kenya. And I started realizing like people was real interested, but they just didn't have the tools, the resources to know how to do it. So being back in the States for like 4 months, man, we've been helping other people, doing workshops. We got 14-year-olds building like school apps that are making money. So it's really teaching them. And I think that experience of me losing, not really losing $1 million, but investing $1 million. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You get experience when you spend that much money in that bread. But now the tools are getting smarter. And one thing I'll say real quick is like, I was watching the CEO of Replit. Y'all probably heard of Replit, right? The platform that built apps, right? So one of the things he said was, he said, a lot of people think our objective is to replace developers. He said, really, our objective is to allow for technology to get to the point, and this is what we call agentic AI, right? He said, our objective is we're going to get to a place where you could type in one sentence and AI is going to go hook up your domain, hook up all the tech stuff. So what I like to tell people is, why I tell people it's the greatest time in history isn't to hype them up. It's to say it doesn't matter where you come from, how old you are. Right now, you got about a 2 to 3 year window period of time where not a lot of people know that you can actually build your own software platform or app, right? Web app, mobile apps. This is the greatest time in history. And what's going to happen is in a couple years, it'll still be opportunity, but it's going to be easier to
be
where anybody
diminished.
can literally type something and it could, again, hook up everything and code your own app in a matter of minutes.
You know, we go way back, so I want to tell you I'm proud of you because I remember when you were spending 200,000-300,000 on developers and things weren't panning out how it was supposed to be. For the person who's watching tonight, they hear a lot about agentic AI, right? And I feel like it's the tale of have and have nots. Like either you know how to do some of it or you don't.
Yeah.
What 3 steps would you have them do after they get off the show tonight to build that first thing to give them a window into these next 2 to 4 years to have an opportunity to be able to thrive?
Yeah, definitely. So the first thing is like, Ian, and you watching y'all, man, I done got wins with development, right? So, I mean, with investing, right? So one of the things to be able to invest more into what y'all saying is, in my opinion, is to build your own technology. How do you do that? How do you get a piece of the multi-trillion-dollar industry? Well, first, you got to have a validated idea. How do you do that? Well, you don't have to have a new idea. People be having this concept like, oh my God, I got to have this crazy new idea. No, there's literally so many platforms out there that either overinflated with too many features, right? Case in point, y'all probably heard of school.com, right? I'm sure y'all heard of school.com. I know the founder who built that. Well, he started that years and years and years ago, but everybody was criticizing him and saying, oh, it's too simple. Well, he went after a market that was very, very simple, and he validated the idea. And now that platform is worth about $1.5 billion, right? It's a app just like that. And that's a software app. So you have many, many platforms out here that you can go and you can validate, and you can either add less features, simplify the process. With AI, you can spin up a lot of these platforms in days if you know how to prompt and know how to specifically tell AI what to do. Right. So the first thing, you need a validated idea that's not overcomplicated. Number 2, you got to tap into one of these platforms and master the skill sets. And they're much easier than they used to be. I'm talking about these platforms are getting better every day, y'all. Like,
what's your favorite one?
My favorite one? For the beginner, I like Lovable, right? Lovable seems to be like one of the best ones, but a lot of people don't know how to really prompt right. You just can't go in there and be like, build me an app. That's what 99% of people do. That's not the right way to do it.
Yeah.
You have to be very specific in what you want, right? And so when you are specific and you give AI context, you give AI a actual kind of context of what you're building, the user that you're going after is going to spit out what you want. As you get more advanced, you can use like Claude, just drop something called Claude Design, which is crazy. Right? If you haven't played around with Claude Design, with Claude Code, you missing out. You can build, when I tell you can build any platform, you can replicate any platform with Claude Design mixed with Claude Code. It's crazy, right? So that's number 2. Once you're a beginner, you can use something like Claude Code Base 44. Those are my favorite 2. Or you can actually transition into Claude Design for a more advanced kind of setup in Claude Code, right? So that's step number 2. And then number 3, you need to have something called distribution, right? Which is what I teach a lot of my students. I didn't say traffic or users. I said distribution. Distribution is where people share your app. Distribution is doing things like what we do, like founders launches, to really get people invested into your app, where they fund your app and then you keep adding back into the app. But man, you don't have to spend all that money on developers like you used to. It's crazy. So that's what the average person can do.
You talked about prompting. Give us an example of like what's the proper prompt. Like, just you can make up a thing or whatever, but like, kind of walk it through like a detailed prompt of like what would be better than if somebody just said, make me an app.
That's a great question.
Yeah, definitely. So here's like, I call this the ultimate software prompt, right? So 1, you have something called context. So you want to tell AI, hey, I am building this app. This is the type of app. So I am building a specific financial app that helps creators. I'm just throwing it out there, right? Creators to have this main benefit. That's called context, right? So you're being specific. You're telling AI, here's what we're building. This is the type of app. This is the type of user. Next, you want to give it what it does. So you want to give like a paragraph. You don't need to go crazy in context, but you say, here's what it does. It does this. You want to kind of have a brain session where you just get everything out. Here's what it does. Then you want to next describe who uses it, right? So who is your ideal customer, but you want to describe it with their situation, their pain point, their frustration, and what they want. Then what I typically do is I give about 3 to 4 core features, right? So like feature number 1, what do you want it to do? So a feature is just what you describe in the software of it to do, right? So you say, here's the main thing I want it to do, but I want to have 2 to 3 features. We call this an MVP, minimal viable product. You'll probably have heard this. The problem with most people is they try to put too many of these things in one platform. That's how you're going to fail. Get that thing out there with 3 or 4 features. Then you're going to tell AI the type of pages, right? So typically you need about 3 pages to start. You need a landing page that's going to sell your app, number 1. You need a sign up and sign in login page, right? The login page we go to on these apps every single day. And then you need a dashboard. That's really where a lot of the data is hosted, where people log in. You can vibe code. We call it vibe coding, right? Kind of like ChatGPT, but this time, like, we actually making money from it. So you type that in. Then the last couple things, and I know this is detail, right? But this is how detailed you got to get with AI, unless you keep spitting out stuff that ain't out there, right? So then what you want to do is you want to tell it the look and feel. Here's the color scheme. We call it style and vibing. What type of style do you want? What type of vibe do you want? And then the last thing is we're going to tell AI what not to do. The problem with a lot of people is they just let AI do whatever. So I'm telling AI, look, don't put too many features in this thing. Don't use all these crazy programming language. Keep it simple, right? So that's kind of like I call it my ultimate software prompt. And I probably built 10 plus platforms using that.
Look, Judge, I had this problem, and it took me about 2-3 weeks to try to figure out what to do. I'm in Claude Design. I told them earlier, like I'm on Claude probably 2 hours a day. I'm on Claude Design. I'm building this agent. I built it, prompted it. It's doing well. But every time I want to use it, I got to go back to Claude to go and use it. I want to have it freestanding, right? Which is what you're doing, building applications. So I'm trying to figure out what's the step? Is it like I need to find open source? Is that the open claw? Like for somebody that's in that space, that's familiar, that's done it, that's prompted it, and is trying to figure out how to make it a standalone. What's the step?
Yeah, so really, I tell people if you're a beginner, don't start off with Claude Design and Claude Code. I mean, most people don't say that because you have to have certain, software language because they try to make it easy. Like, oh, just go into Claude Code. Well, you're going to need, without getting too crazy heavy, but you're going to need backend. What backend means, what backend development process means is that you're going to need databases, right? You're going to need to where the app, that means that where the app is storing the actual data, right? You're going to need backend. So if you don't know, but I'll give y'all this because we on here rocking, right? So, so I tell people I don't gatekeep, right? I want my people to win. So you can use something called Supabase, SUPA base, to basically use that to tap into your app to store the actual data, right? But again, you have to kind of have some level of knowledge. Well, Lovable, for example, you can host it all, right? It'll set up your databases. You want to get paid through Stripe, it'll connect the API, it'll connect the Stripe so you can get paid in a few minutes. So you kind of want it, you can't have it under one roof. And a lot of these platforms, you're starting to be able to code it under one roof. But the challenge with using Claude Code and Claude Design is that you got to kind of have some software knowledge to be able to say, hook this database up, hook this domain up, set this live, then doing certain checklists, man, to go through it. So it's a process, but it's easier than it used to be because it was way more complicated than that, y'all. So look, it's getting better every day. And we got people, like I said, man, who building it, who's 60 plus, who 14, you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot less easier. I mean, it's a lot easier than it used to be.
I want to talk to you about how do you protect the app idea, let's say with developers, investors, and even competition. Because remember back in the day, Russell Brunson had that software.
Yeah.
And when he started to make the rounds to pitch it to VC, to Sam, some people think the early iteration of ChatGPT was some of his IP. So after you build an amazing app, how do you protect it from investors, sharks in the water, that could be competition, and prevent from your idea being stolen?
Yeah, definitely. So, one of the 2 things that you want to do, number one, a lot of people don't know this, but obviously, you have typical kind of regular, copyright rules, right? When you're creating something. But however, that only goes so far because that's general.
Yeah.
Most people don't know this, but you can actually go to copyright I think it's like .org, and you can actually pay like $65 to it's kind of like an extra step copyright that you can pay, right? So
Okay.
it actually gives you an extra step of protection. It's like 65, $70. You pay for it and you can copyright. The next thing is, even before you start developing, one of the things I kind of tell a lot of my students, people I help with this with, is like get trademark, right? Obviously, trademark is the next step. So you want to make sure that when you are branding, your name and you're thinking about the name, you definitely want to make sure that, whatever you're building isn't, trademark, right? So those are really like two things that, you could do to immediately protect yourself. But I tell people this, right? Like 99% of, like, I'm just telling you how this, right? Like outside of some people, right? 99% of people barely take action on completing these things. Like some of the stats is like 90% of people never launch any of these apps, even though the tools are there, right? Out of that 90%, you know what I'm saying? Like 8 or 9% of them aren't making over $10,000. That leave 1 or 2%. So I tell the average person, like, protect your ideas. But here's the biggest thing: be a part of the 1 to 2 to 3% who actually launch. That's what I try to get people. Don't be just building. They be so focused
forever.
on blog code forever and vibe coding. And you could go to YouTube and see all these people who just be vibe coding to death. I'd be like, look, it's cool. We're going to vibe code, but let's get it out there. Let's get it making money. Let's get it in the hands of people. They give us feedback and then you add features to it. So yeah, that's pretty much, what I'm saying? Like it's possible. I've launched about 10 apps on vibe coding, right? But obviously I kind of have developed, not because of developers, I vibe coded those on my own, but because I know the steps on how to launch it, right? So I just tell people my advice: if you listen to this, you could do it in a few days. If you want, you could get a prototype, get it some money, and then obviously investors, you can also use those prototypes. You can spend less than $500, get a prototype, you can get it in front of investors, but you can also get your biggest investors are your customers.
Yeah,
That's
good traction.
the traction, yeah.
Yeah.
So apps, it's kind of like podcasts. Like anybody can create an app, right? There's millions of apps, and most apps are never even gonna make it past, 1 or 2 people actually even know that they're there. So you make an app. Now, how do you actually promote the app, get it in front of people, make it profitable, make it, something that people are even aware of? Like, where does that come into play?
Yeah, definitely. So I always like to say, man, my favorite thing is to do a traditional kind of like the way that software is rolled out in a lot of these companies, even the ones y'all talk about a lot, is they do an alpha launch, right? So that means that once your app is launched, the alpha launch basically allows for you to get the bugs out, right? So you're getting the bugs out. You can do this with AI. You can vibe code it out. You can keep saying, put this feature out, right? That's one. 2 is you do a beta launch. So this one of my favorite ways to do is I call it audience hacking, right? Basically what you do is because see the challenge that we have right now in today's society of getting clients, right? Getting like people to spend money is a little bit more challenging because the trust factor is there. So people who have audiences already have that trust factor, right? And people don't know this, but even though we use this internal communication of I'm an app builder, I tell my people that's kind of like we use that internally that I'm building apps. I kind of change the language and say I'm a tech founder. Because when you say that has power, that has meaning, right? So when I say I'm a tech founder, it's completely different. So what that does is that kind of puts you and positions you to be able to do like what we call a founder's launch. That's where we can put people, say like on a Zoom call, right? And we do a founder's launch, a beta launch. And all we're doing is it's different because it's power in just showing what your app is doing, and you're getting beta users and then they're paying. That's how I scaled Maestro to 100 users. That's how I got my first 100 users. Then I kept reinvesting the money back into the business, right? Doing different strategies that work. One of the strategies is I do a lot of pay ads. We spend, multiple 6 figures, spend a lot of money on pay ads because now I can afford to acquire a customer because I know that I have product market fit, which is so important, right? If you haven't heard of product market fit, it means that people are, like school, like all these other platforms, they have what we call product market fit. So people want to keep buying their app, subscribing to the average person The average person have about 6 to 8 apps. Ian, I know, look, Rashad, I know y'all got about 20 subscriptions y'all paying for right now. I know y'all, look, we know the software, like we paying so much for software, right? So you keep spending money on that. And then another strategy that's working for us really, really well, especially for our apps, is paying other influencers to review our apps. And then we run those as ads. Let me say that again. So we pay influencers, right? So watch this, right? Some people call it, I mean, obviously some people call it
It's like
clipping.
advertorial. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an UGC, right? User generated content. So what we do is we pay users to review our apps. All they do is review the app, right? Once we notice we have those influencers to basically post different types of videos until we see naturally, you know, on their social media or they create an account. Once we see what's working, we say, okay, this advertorial, this user generated content is working now. Now let's run it as an ad. That has worked for us in getting 500, 1,000 users. So there's many ways. Once you have product market fit in the app space, I mean, the opportunities are endless.
You're doing a lot of apps, you're helping a lot of people. I wonder, is there a focus? Do you see a concentration in specific areas? Like, is it e-commerce? Like, where are you seeing the app world headed, right? Like, are people making them technological breakthroughs? Like, where is the interest level right now in terms of the type of apps that people are making?
Yeah, so I think that, you know, every industry, man, there's no industry in the world that still doesn't have pain points that apps can't solve, right? And that's why I tell people all the time, man, the fast way to go broke is listen to people say, oh, this industry is saturated. And I tell people, listen, if people spending money in it, right, there's a problem that needs to be solved, and probably it can be automated through technology. So the way I kind of have people view things a little bit differently than there's so much competition, I typically say, look, you know, what niche can we go into? Because, you know, obviously we heard riches aren't the niches, but here's the thing. Most people don't niche down their apps specifically. That's the fastest way to have profit, because everybody is trying to be everything. So when you go into, say you got like somebody's building like a healthcare app, right? Well, they're trying to target everyone, right? But then if you were to niche that thing down, that's crazy, right? Because you have hardly no competition and you got technology as your advantage. So I would say, man, the sectors that always win are obviously the marketing sectors. You know, we're seeing growth because obviously, and one of the things I talk about with technology, and I study a lot of futurism, right? You know, the healthcare space is the next space to be disrupted because of things like biometrics. That's a little bit more complicated, but the healthcare space is the next space, in my opinion, to be completely disrupted by technology. You know, as people start to, you know, seek their own, you know, healthcare and trying to figure out ways and DNA patterning and stuff like that, and there's software to be created in that. I mean, you also obviously have the main contender where business owners spend the most money. And so there's sectors where you can literally, like, you know, platforms that are big, you know, these things can be vibe coded. And if you niche it down, you can make a lot of money and a lot of profit. So yeah, I would just say healthcare is one. Obviously marketing and business will always be there because people constantly, they spend money on tools to try to get customers. But those are my two biggest bets is, you know, those two industries.
All right, talk like it's just you and I. What are the biggest reasons like apps fail, even though I get your point about saturation between vibe code and open claw, where you can talk about private or open source. What are, like, over your 10 years of experience doing it, like, what are like the core 4 or 5 reasons you see a lot of apps start to fall apart or don't get as much traction as they should long term?
Long term. So, I mean, the biggest one is most people just don't really, and I mean, this gonna sound kind of cliche, but it just needs to be said, right? Most people kind of like fear success or failure. That's one of the biggest things. Like they don't really understand that. And a lot of and it's faster with technology, but here's the thing, right? You still have to have that mentality and patience when it comes to building a software, right? Because even though you can get it out fast, there's still a process to getting customers and getting some of the bugs ironed out. So people are not patient enough to kind of see, just like y'all, right? Y'all teach about investing. You know what I'm saying? Helping people, Ian, we know this, right? It's the long game, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You hold on to Nvidia for 10 years, you up, right? So, you know, it's the similar thing, right? People try to create these tools, create some of these platforms, and they try to get quick wins, and they kind of have this, oh, I need to make money right now, which is cool, but you got to stay in the game and be able to do that. That's one. Let's just say that's one or two success, fear of success and fear of failure. They fear both of those, and that's why they end up failing. Number 3 is they don't kind of have a balance of marketing and building, right? So they spend too much time building their product, and then 3 or 4 months then went past, and they already competition into the marketplace, overthinking things, and then they got to go back, and then they have this perfectionism where they trying to build, and they don't really balance marketing and selling with building. You feel what I'm saying? So then it's like you should be, let me just tell y'all this. You should be marketing that thing as you're building. There's not a product that even, we call this pre-selling, right? You know what I'm saying? Like even before my app is done or any product I have is done, I'm already seeding that it's coming out. I'm building a wait list, right? This is the easiest thing to do when you're building something. I got a wait list. That takes 5 minutes with if you want to know what's a vibe code, let me tell you what it is to hold yourself accountable, right? One is tell AI to build you a wait list for your product. It's just literally, here's what's coming, and there's an email box, and people put in their name and email address, and you collecting leads. That's the fastest way to hold yourself accountable, right? Which leads into 4, they never set a launch date. They always, like I said, that's why 90% of them never launch. They're never setting a launch date. They run into bugs, 2-3 months go past. Then you look up, what happens? You 6 months in the game and you ain't got no product that ain't making no money. So that's what I would say the biggest mistakes I see people make in 10 years. They wait too long to launch. They try to have the perfect technology. No technology is perfect.
It's perfect, yeah.
If your first version, let me just say this real quick. If your first version ain't a little trash, if it ain't a little bad, you overthinking it. Stop overthinking it. Launch it, get customers, let them tell you what to build next, and then just keep iterating from there.
Oh, appreciate you, man, coming on. Tell the people, you know, where to follow you, your information, and your app and everything that involves with that.
Yeah, man. So, you know what I'm saying? Y'all can follow me, man. Instagram, Instagram.com/CEO Justin Burns, right? BURNS, Justin Burns. So CEO Justin Burns. And then we teach a lot of the classes, teach this to people who are beginning at apps built with AI, APPS built with AI.com, man. We hold workshops. We always teaching people. And man, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna get Troy Rashad and Ian to, you know, try to get me to speak at Invest Fast. We're gonna see that y'all teach y'all about software. You know what I'm saying? Look, we gotta
put it
throw
out
it
there.
out there to the ecosystem, baby.
You have to ask for what you want. Yep.
There's an
So
app for
listen,
that.
I'm a master manifestor. Listen, I say, look, we're gonna teach y'all about software apps, man. I'm gonna do a session for y'all, man. Drop all the game. And so, yeah, man, that's where y'all can find me, Kings. I love to teach this stuff. I believe that everybody deserves a seat at the technology table. Everybody.
That's a bar. That's a bar.
Everybody deserves a seat at the technology table, and it's not reserved for the Harvard University and the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world. Is people like me and you that deserve to have a seat at that table, and we now do. So yeah, y'all follow me on Instagram, CEO Justin Burns at appsbuiltwithai.com, and the app is Maestro too, the one y'all want to see. I spent $1 million on Maestro, MIESTRO.com. Y'all can check that out too.
Appreciate you, my guy.
My God,
bro.
appreciate you so much, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all for having me, man. Good seeing you, Ian, boy. Been a minute.
We got to talk, man. Call me after this.
I bet. I appreciate y'all.
How about, bro? All right.
That was informative.
Yeah, that was fun. Crazy part, Justin, Suresh, Danielle, Leslie, Monique, we used to be in the accountability group like in 2015.
Or
He's been on this path for a long time, so I'm happy to see my guy flourish. And
he was traveling for a little bit. I was following him.
For sure. Yeah.
For
sure.
He made it back home for 4 months, he said. That's dope.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was that was a lot jam-packed episode. Yeah, Kudos to everybody that tapped in. Make sure you watch it back. Check out Blackout on Wednesday at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Once again, we are doing special episode of Earn Your Leisure Thursday at 9 o'clock at night. A live episode. So be in the chat, ask questions live at 9 o'clock at night. We're going to be going over how to start an HVAC company. Trade. We're going to be doing it. This is trade school. Trade school edition. Entrepreneurship vibe. Because that's the one thing they don't really teach you at trade school. They'll teach you to trade, but they don't really teach you how to become an entrepreneur in the trade. So EYL Trade School, 9 o'clock at night, Thursday, live. Tap in, men, women, make your children watch it. You
For
got
sure.
somebody that's trying to figure out their life. You're trying to figure out your life. It's one of these things,
It's
man.
vitally important.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we gotta, before we go, I couldn't wait for the market. I can't wait for Tuesday morning, right? It's like the market's not open, something just don't feel right. But we got big earnings week for software. So Wednesday after close, we got Salesforce, we got Snowflake, Synopsys, which has done really well. Marvel's gonna be reporting. Always gotta watch them. And then on Thursday after close, we got Dell, and Dell has just been on
a tear,
complete tear. Has done incredible things in the portfolio. And next week, I think I'll break down Lam Research. I think I'm gonna break down that.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I'm seeing some things there. So make sure y'all tune in.
Yeah, Stock Club call replay will be out this weekend. Stock Club prices will be out this weekend. If I made you money, please put yes in chat. And I got to ask you guys a question. It wouldn't be a great investment to be front row at the Knicks game, right?
A lot of money. Congratulations to the Knicks, up 25, headed to the finals for the first time.
Oh, this price is crazy. Since
1999. Marcus Campi was playing.
2000, yeah.
Latrell Sprewell, Allen Houston, Kurt Thomas. Patrick was hurt, but he was on that team. Was Chris Childs on that team? Chris Childs might have been on that team.
I think so.
They lost to the Spurs. That was a short.
Sprewell was tough too, bro.
It was tough as a Knick, man. I like seeing those guys.
That
at
was
the game,
a great
bro.
era.
Yeah, they walked in. Patrick's at the game tonight.
Okay.
Shout out to Fat Joe, man. They can't ban Joey Crack, man. He got a front row seat. Give him his front row seat. You know, New York, yo, the Metro Mafia. They'll let them celebrate. New York City, just let them celebrate tonight.
They're going to tear the city up, bro.
They try to ban them to be us. You can't stop New York City from going crazy over the Knicks, man. It's not going to happen. Let them celebrate. It's been 25, 27 years. So I'm gonna have a good time one night. I know. I think after game 2 there was 6 arrests. We're gonna party.
It's gonna be 100. 100 tonight. What? And the let out, because the last game I went to was Spurs versus Knicks when I was out there, and the let out just from that regular season game was crazy. Tonight.
And I'm shout out to all Knicks fans. Not some of these. I seen like they did this Instagram where they asking people like, "Yo, who's the best player?" And it'd be like 2 influencers and people giving answers. No, the diehard ones that have been there through the Eddie Currys,
through everything. Eddie was tough in his own.
That was my guy. That was my guy. He was drafted by the Bulls. I mean, just all the eras, the Melo era, the Jeremy Lin era. This is your moment. I, as a New Yorker, I support it. Congratulations. Mike, that goes out to you. Mike, he a day one. Since Mr. Worthy's class, Mike.
Didn't DiVincenzo used to be on the Knicks?
DiVincenzo was on the Knicks 2 years ago, man.
Yeah, that's
they traded him with Randall.
That's tough
for Cat. Yeah,
that's tough.
The pullover there, that's a fact. Yeah, he used to. Our 7th grade teacher had the John Starks dunk on his door. He was a diehard Knicks fan. I hated that dunk. I'm a Bulls fan. I hated that, man.
That was a great moment.
Every time you walk into class, he acknowledges it and makes you like look at it. But
the left
shout out to
joint,
man. Jalen Brunson, my son can wear that jersey. Yeah. He can wear that jersey. That's one he can wear.
Shout out to the refs who are gonna give Shea 900 free throws a game too, though. We got to have a conversation on blackout.
Those two teams are going to beat each other up so much that the Knicks are going to have an advantage. That's a great series to watch.
That's
like they are just going. And
Wemby different too, bro.
Wemby, it's absolutely ridiculous. All right, y'all be good. Happy birthday! My brother's birthday's tomorrow. Happy birthday to my brother Hal. His birthday tomorrow.
Happy birthday!
Yeah, it's Gemini season. Shout out to Gemini. Spence, what's going on? Spence, his birthday the 27th. We got a lot of Geminis coming up. So yeah, man, be good to each other. Reach out, text one person, or text a couple people. One conversation can change everything for somebody. So make sure y'all do your part.
Hold for long term.
Yeah, y'all watch Crash? Did y'all watch Crash on Netflix?
I haven't seen. I heard about it. That's
all right. We'll talk off here.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Y'all be good. Love is love.
Arrivederci. Love y'all. Peace.